When somebody asks me about coaching, what calls about coaching, for me, if I can connect with them through communication, super easy, and it feels like a very natural conversation, then I'm interested. If it's a forced conversation where I have to ask a lot of questions or I have to sort of prod and poke a little bit, it doesn't feel easy, then I generally say no all the time. Clearly it's both, right? It's clearly both. You can't ignore the science because it's fact. You can't ignore the art because that's emotion, that's personality, that's people. And you have to have both. I mean, you've had coaches that have no personality, no emotion, and you're just like, wow, what a drag.
Connection, yeah.
And then you have the coach that you don't know why, but you would literally run through a wall for that guy, and you're like, or woman, convince you that you can do it. You're gonna give it a go.
You're listening to Endurance Unlimited, a TrainingPeaks podcast for athletes and coaches, no matter what you're training for. Dial in those workouts with deep insights and cutting-edge science from the most prominent voices in the endurance and hybrid sports world. My next guest is a longtime friend and old teammate of mine, Jim Miller. Jim is the Chief of Sports Performance at USA Cycling. He has had an unparalleled coaching career, unlike any other American cycling coach. He has coached athletes in 6 different Olympic Games, resulting in numerous Olympic medals, which makes him the most decorated cycling coach in U.S. history. In addition, Jim's athletes have won 10 world championships and achieved 15 world championship podiums, including this year's UCI World Marathon mountain bike champion, Keegan Swenson. He was recognized by the USOC as Coach of the Year and awarded the Order of Ecos 3 times. I hope you enjoy this episode where I try to get at the essence of what makes a one-of-a-kind coach. Jim Miller, it's been a long time. We go back a long ways. You are in Santiago, Chile, actually joining this podcast. And why are you in the Southern Hemisphere?
We are in Santiago, Chile. It's the Denver, Colorado of South America.
Oh, okay. I should visit. All right.
It's very nice city, big mountains in the background. You could easily mistake it.
Wow.
We are here for the track world championships.
Nice. How many track world championships have you been to?
I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. I think my total world championship count is somewhere in the 70s or 80s.
I mean, the thing is, you travel a lot more than the athletes do because you got to cover mountain bike, road, track, para, Olympic, like everything in between. It's just insane to think about how your brain is like shifting modes all the time
all the time.
Literally from mountain bike to gravel to track to world hour record to anything on 2 wheels.
Yeah. We do from basically the end of July to the first week of November, 10 back-to-back world championships.
Yeah. And then you have the Olympic years, and that changes things up, and 4-year cycles, 8-year cycles. I mean, you're thinking in 8-10-year cycles.
You have to. Yep.
Well, if we go back 25 years, you and I were at Colorado State University together, and we were racing and teammates and trying to make a go of it as athletes, and we made it a certain way up that ladder, but not all the way to the highest levels. And so somewhere along the way, we both decided to take up coaching. And I'd love to dig into that seed and like what got you motivated. Why did you pursue coaching? And there weren't very many cycling coaches back then. So bring us back to those early years and what got you down this pathway, this career path.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy if you think about it, right? I mean,
yeah,
we're 2 guys riding side by side for 10 years in Fort Collins, Colorado, trying to figure out how to train ourselves for cycling. At the end of the day, like outside of your dad, there was nobody to go and talk to and ask questions about.
Yeah.
I think at the time, the national team, Chris Carmichael, would publish a annual training plan that you could,
I remember Eddie
get your hands on it.
Yeah. Eddie B's book.
Follow it. And like, that was about it. I remember as I really got into bike racing, wanted to be good. I asked people a lot of questions like, how should we train for this? And it was really like so basic, even at 19 years old. I'm like, this can't be simply how you train for cycling.
Huh.
Um, so I started studying physiology just because I wanted to train myself. I was like, I want to be
Right.
faster. I want to be better. I need to understand how this works. And so I just started studying physiology and in University College, Colorado State, just to train myself. And then lo and behold, the first guy I met when I moved to Fort Collins at a stoplight was Chris Baldwin. He was like 18 years old and
Yeah.
he had just moved there. We rode together the next day, and then I think he started riding with me every day for almost 10 years. And somewhere in that first year, he's like, how do you decide what we're going to do every day? And I'm like, I'm basically making it up. I'm trying to learn uh, physiology for myself, but and apply it to my training and see if it works. And
Yeah.
he was like, would you write my training? Because clearly I don't need the same thing you need. And I'm like, yeah, probably, but not if you're going to go bad and get terrible results and say that I screwed you up.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Mm-hmm.
which was really the genesis of my entire coaching career was that conversation.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you had connections to Dean Gulich as well. I mean, those early
Yes,
years.
yeah. Dean was my college roommate. I lived with Dean for 4 years.
That's insane. I mean, head of Red Bull, high performance, like the
Hmm.
highest level, like the two of you were roommates. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and our first advisor was Dave Martin. Dave Martin
Oh
is
man.
is the
Wow.
big guy at AIS for
Yeah.
25 years. Worked for
Yeah.
the 76ers.
And that's Wyoming.
That was University
You,
of Wyoming.
yeah. Love it.
Ryan Bolden, who's one of the high performance coaches at triathlon, was part of that
Yep. My dad
era.
coached him to the
Hmm.
first triathlon Olympics year, Sydney 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that is cool. Well, you know what? I looked up your user ID and Ryan Bolton's, and you guys are obviously first 20 on Training Peaks. So we're definitely doing some really cool reflections right now with our 25-year anniversary this year. So yeah, it goes way back to you were actually starting to create your own app at the same time, right?
I did. Yeah, I was trying to make a living, right, coaching riders and racing
Yeah,
bikes. Um, at the time, you have to go back to the '90s, where it was like FileMaker Pro was the best thing you had. I
that's
was
what we modeled Training Peaks off of.
writing all my training in Microsoft Word, which was a calendar template. I would
Mm-hmm.
print it and send it via mail,
Yeah.
um, and then later send it via fax. Uh, that was like high tech, and at the time, I think we actually went down the same road at the same time, but two different paths. Um, you were you were completely thinking operating system, and coaches need a platform to operate on. And
Yeah.
I was thinking, this is all marketing. We'll just copy whatever you do. And I remember having this conversation, and you're like, well, they'll get to be a point where you can't keep up. And I'm like, I'll just be 1 year behind maximum, and we'll just copy everything you do until we can't.
Well, you could do that today if you want, you
You
know?
could, yeah, um, yeah. And then I think quickly though, my zest to keep up with the technology was less than my desire to be a good coach. And
Well, I mean, I remember early years with CTS, it was same kind of conversations, they had their own and I just felt at some point you can't do both. So I really kind of might put my head nose to the grindstone and just kind of went after the technology side, but always loving the coaching side. That's what started it all. That's what drove us to continue to help the coaching, career path for so many folks. So it's been amazing. As a young coach, what do you think you were lacking? Maybe obviously the science wasn't all there, but what else as a coach were you lacking in those early years?
experience for sure.
Hmm.
I think one thing that really helped me become a good coach was in the early years, I coached a ton of people and probably made a ton of mistakes and probably had a ton of people go really bad, really slow. Um, but you learn from them. And
Yeah.
the amount of failures I had clearly helped in the experience category. And you just stop making the same mistakes, right? And you get better and better and better.
Yeah.
So for me early on, is most definitely experience. And but there wasn't like a template, right? There was nobody coaching your dad. Chris Carmichael was. Um, I was. I don't know many other people.
What about the human side of things, like connecting with the athlete? I wanted to ask this later on, but it's that art versus science, but the soft side versus the science and connecting with
Yeah.
the athlete. How much importance do you put into that or not, or is it all science?
No, I put a lot into it actually. When somebody asks me about coaching, what calls about coaching, for me, if I can connect with them through communication super easy and it feels like a very natural conversation, then I'm interested. If it's a forced
Uh-huh.
conversation where I have to ask a lot of questions or I have to sort of prod and poke a little bit, it doesn't feel easy, then I generally say no all the time. I think for an athlete, even when athletes ask me what they should look for in a coach, I'm always the communication first. If their name pops up on your iPhone and you dread that, that's the wrong coach. Even if they're an awesome coach. If their name pops up and you answer to one ring, that's the coach you want.
Yeah, yeah. That connection. And I guess there's obviously trust. That's a huge part. It's like you got to stand up for your word. If you say you're going to get back to them tomorrow as a coach, like
Mhm.
you can't nig on that. I mean, it's that trust is almost everything too, right?
Yep, yep. And you have to earn that, right? Respect, trust, all of that you have to earn through your actions, not just through what you
True.
say.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
so I want to keep diving into more of your underlying methodology and kind of how you progressed as a coach, but somewhat through the lens of one of your star athletes, Keegan Swenson. He just had a rough week last week, whereby he was leading the Lifetime Grand Prix going into the final Big Sugar event. He had obviously being a world champion, he won the mountain bike marathon world championships this year, won Leadville. But it kind of ended a little bit on a sour note. It went from first to fourth on the final event because Big Sugar was more or less made a little sugar because they cut it in
Hmm.
half as it ended up being a 2 hour race and he had a field sprint at the end. But yeah, going through kind of like how you work with Keegan, he has lofty goals. But how do you guys go about setting annual goals? I mean, one year he does gravel worlds, another year he does mountain bike worlds. How does this evolve during the off season? Does he just come to you and say, "Coach, this is it. These are my goals," and you're like, "Yeah, okay," or are you working together with him?
Yeah, I mean, generally he's setting the goals, what he wants to accomplish. Um, at some point after an off season, we'll talk and say, what do you want to accomplish? There's some things like Lifetime. That's his bread and butter. That's where he makes his money. That's his contract. That's what he's paid to do. So that's just a given. And then there's always the other projects. What do you want to do that's exciting or fun? Like what challenges out there that you want to conquer?
Uh-huh.
And he primarily sets them. So he tells me what he wants to do. And I think in a lot of cases, athletes are telling the coach what they want to do. But I also think it's important for the coach to also have goals for their athletes and what they want out of their athletes and see what they want to get from the relationship as well. It's just not a one-sided, I work for you and you tell me what we do and I work hard towards it. There's
Okay.
there's obviously things that I want as well. And if I'm not feeling fulfilled in that journey, I will also walk away.
So you have this skeleton, if you will, the Lifetime Grand Prix, kind of, and then you back into projects from there.
Yeah.
So what decides one year going after gravel world champion jersey and another going after a mountain bike world champion
Yeah.
jersey?
Profile generally. He's also raced a road world championship. Um,
Forgot about Australia
yeah.
just a couple
Yeah.
years
It
ago.
was
Yeah,
absolutely baller ride. I think he was in the first chase group, 260K, and
yeah.
was he was the first or second American there.
I mean, well, I guess Vanderpool, Tom Pidcock are the
Yeah.
next closest to being a chameleon like that. So yeah, what drives those project? Just calendar or what?
Yeah, calendar and course profile. So obviously he's not
Mm,
going to Zolder, Belgium to race a world championship.
right.
Um, but if the profile fits, it suits his skill set, then the timing works, uh, then he'll try. Also did mountain bike marathon worlds in Elba, Italy, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and came from like 78th start position to lead group, uh, flatted, fixed it, and came back to like fifth or something. It was absolutely insane ride. Nobody in the world would ever know it happened because he was fifth, and you don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But we kind of circled that as in our minds of like, we got to go back and conquer this.
Yeah.
Put this one away. So
Got
this
it.
year lined up where Mountain Bike Worlds was on a super famous mountain bike marathon route. Tons of information on it, massive climbing. I mean, it was something like 15,000 feet.
Oh. And
First
hike a
climbs,
bike.
yeah,
I mean,
like a 30% hike bike, so like legit hike a bike. Um, and like 15 minutes of it, not just a up and over. This is like you're doing it.
yeah.
But it lined up, so it's out of altitude. It suits his skill sets perfectly. It's coming off Leadville, which is altitude, so all of the preparation was basically like, look, go to Leadville, smash, recover, and then just like a week and a half of training and 2 weeks of training, and you're in marathon worlds. So it
Yeah.
all lined up really well. So yeah, we put it on there, decided to go for it, and worked out.
Well, obviously, Kate Courtney too. I mean, I don't believe you're still working with her, but you have in the past. She won Leadville, set the course record this year on what you might argue is a slow year. So
Mhm.
the women can go faster. We're going to see more records fall. But she won worlds as well off of Leadville. I mean, it just was a perfect alignment of the stars between the lifetime and the marathon worlds for those two.
Yep, it was really good. And it also helped that cross country worlds were that same week. You had short track Thursday, so they raced on a Saturday or Sunday. I don't remember what it was. And then you had short track on Thursday, and you had cross country on Sunday. So you didn't get a lot of the cross country guys or
Oh,
women
right.
racing.
Jumping
So
it. Yeah.
you had a true marathon field, and that certainly helped. But I do think that the preparation they did for Leadville and then the rolling into Switzerland was probably about as perfect as it could be.
Yeah. How do you change up the training based on the next race? I mean, you have Shawamigan thrown in there, right? How do you actually prioritize certain training sessions based on the next race, or do you sometimes just have to ignore the next race and we're training for a bigger objective?
Yeah, I think Lifetime's actually pretty easy because it's so spaced out. You can literally train for a race, rest,
Hmm.
start again, and train for in the next cycle to the next race.
All right, the demands
It's
of the
not,
next.
yeah, it's not like World Cup mountain bike racing where you may have 4 weeks in a row of World Cups, and you're just getting this vicious race rest cycle, and just fitness just nose bombs
Yeah.
through the 30 days. So I think Lifetime's pretty easy to train for and prep for. Something like Schwamigan came immediately after Marathon Worlds, and you could have almost predicted that would be not a great race for him. Not because he wasn't capable or not because he uh, wasn't interested, but you come off of winning a world championship and it's just like this huge high, and it's hard to get up again.
And
Even
that
though
was
you want to show up and do it, but it's just really hard.
that's a different profile. I mean, that was a field sprint, right? I
Yep.
mean, 10
Yep.
guys or something, kind of like Big Sugar was.
Yep. Yep. And I think truthfully that day he just jumped early and got caught.
Hmm.
Went a little too far out. People are getting better at reading these finishes. I think the Lifetime
Yeah.
guys are getting better at reading these finishes. A couple of years ago, you could jump where Keegan jumped and absolutely just catch these guys out, which he
Yeah.
did because he won it twice doing that.
Yeah.
And no, this time I think they were on him a little bit quicker, tighter.
Huh.
It didn't work out. So then he gets a really not a great place, which is bad points. So retrospect, that day, he probably should have raced for points and not the win. But with him, he never raced for points. We just raced to win.
Yeah, man. What do you say? Winners or grinners? Is that what it was?
Winners or grunners.
How about starting with a new athlete? What do you look for in an athlete that you particularly would like to work with? What are characteristics you that line up with you?
Yeah. It, it's hard. Like I work with a lot, only like really high end athletes, right? Um, Everybody that comes to me they have the big VO2s, they have the big motors. Uh, but I take that elite group and I basically break them into three categories. Um, One, they want to win. Uh, Two, they like to win, and three,
Yeah.
they need to win. And there's a lot of want to wins and like to wins. And there's very few people that need to win. That's a totally different mindset. This is the person who's not asking you about balance. They're not talking to you about holidays. They're not working around life schedules. They integrate
Right.
their life into their work, and they need to win. They literally need to win. Um, to make a good person, I don't know, not always.
Well, they
Um,
sacrifice along the way.
yeah, and I think it also. I would actually reframe that. Uh, these are the people who also don't look at what they're giving up. They look at everything as what they're
Mm,
gaining,
mm,
right? Like I'm not giving
yeah.
up my holiday. I'm gaining an extra 5 days of training because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So that's and generally that's what I look for. Sometimes they're a little rough. They have really high standards for themselves, and they generally push everybody around them to have the same standards and be as driven as they are. Um,
Yeah.
but I typically am. I mean, but there's a big difference. And the like to wins, the need to wins. I mean, they work really hard. They're super talented,
Yeah.
and they're going to win some bike races. It's just not the same as the need to wins.
Yeah. So the need to win, the want to win, sometimes ego can come along with that.
Hmm.
Do you sometimes have to break down the ego because they're seeing one pathway to success and you see an opposite pathway and something you need to rebuild and kind of break down that ego and get back to basics?
I think they all have egos, um,
Yeah.
right? So it's just how you work with that ego. I don't really purposely ever break down an ego or try to detrain something out of somebody. I will generally try to work with it. There are times where I think you have to really frank conversations.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the tougher things of coaching is actually telling somebody what they need to hear versus
Right.
what they want to hear or what you know is going to make them happy.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to tell them how it is, and it is what it is. They'll they'll be angry, they'll be pissed,
Yeah.
but if you don't say it, then they don't know, and your job as a coach is to actually do that.
Well, and sometimes in the team environment, that sacrifice, you have to sacrifice for the team leader. And you were the team leader yesterday, you may not be the team leader tomorrow.
Hmm.
So breaking that down and it is a job, for good or bad at a certain level. It kind of does become a job, especially at
Hmm.
the team level where it's like, I know I'm not going to finish today or I'm going to be 15 minutes behind, but I got to do this something for the team. Um, so that shows some true character
Hmm.
right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one thing when you're paid as a domestique or you're paid as a lead out or paid as a roller to just weld things together.
Yeah.
Um, Generally, those guys don't. They totally understand their role and they totally understand how they're making their living, and it's not a problem. It's when you have two GC leaders or three GC
Mm,
leaders and
yeah.
they all want to win the same day. That's
There's
the
the
challenge, and
ego.
you see that all the time, even at the very top of teams that are dysfunctional because they can't get past that.
Yeah. 3 team leaders. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, how about the role of testing? I mean, you could relate it to Keegan or anybody or
Mhm.
just in general. How do you think about testing? How important is it within the yearly planning or spot checks along the way and different types of testing?
Mhm. It's a big one. Because anything you test or do should should be an actual item afterwards, right? So there's no point in testing if you're not going to create an action out of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't actually do a ton of testing with really experienced athletes, but we do a ton of testing with development athletes
Okay.
and repeated testing and repeated testing, so you can show progress, you can see progress or not in some cases. Um, but it also helps you understand what what event they might be best in, or
Mm,
where you might, at least in my world, where I might direct them rather than what their chosen path is.
Right.
Elite athletes, like, I don't mind lab testing, especially if they like doing it. Um, but primarily it's setting zones, right? That's ultimately what you do with it.
Are you doing, even with the elites, like you have just field testing? Like today's a test day. Let's go out and test in
Yep.
the, not in the lab, but outside.
Yep.
What might some of those look like?
I always do a 12-second, 5-minute, and 20-minute. And
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty basic, but
In the same
you're gonna get a
workout.
peak, you're gonna get a peak power, you're gonna get a VO2 max power, and you're gonna get a threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the items that I need um, for
And when I
riding
think,
my
yeah,
train.
when I think about Kristen Armstrong and all her Olympics where she was successful and she's time trialist, I know you replicated like Olympic race courses in her
Mhm.
backyard. Were
All the
there
time.
test
Yep.
days on those Olympic recon courses in Idaho?
Oh, we probably did some test days. I don't think we did like. I guess we probably did. We probably did some full blown dress rehearsals as well.
Okay.
Um, Probably one of the smarter things we did was actually talk the local club into doing a Thursday night TT series that they ran
Oh,
for 15 years, and they weren't doing that before. So same course, same out of that course, and we had 15 years of data on this, and we knew if she was
nice.
going really well or really bad, and you could do like full dress rehearsal on it. So bring the trainer out, do the warm up, do the cooling, do your uh, beta alanines, your caffeines, all that stuff, right? Um, Use the race skin suit and go rip it and see how it goes. And like we would know in race skin suits what she should do. We'd know in training skin suits what she should do. So we'd always know if she was on or off.
Yeah.
And
You
they actually
mentioned
did. Mhm.
what was that?
They did a great that time trial series actually turned into like this entire town was time trialing. Will
Wow.
Barber's from there, Mateo Jorgen's from there. Everybody was going out time trialing in the local bike shop. George's was literally like a used time trial bike dealer, so that you could it was like a car dealership. You could trade in your model, get a new one.
Oh
Somebody
wow, that's
new coming
cool.
in would buy the old car and
That's
start
rare.
racing that, and oh, that was incredible. And they were
That's
killing it.
sweet. I actually did a time trial in Idaho nationals, junior nationals. It was like 1984 or something. I was like 14 years old, and yeah, anyways, good memories of doing time trials back
Yeah,
in Idaho a long time ago. Going back to dress rehearsal, is that with every single athlete? We think about race morning. Are you talking about dress rehearsal the night before the race, the day before the race? How far ahead of the race are you actually getting into rehearsal mode? And how detailed does that rehearsal get to replicate race day?
yeah. I think that's one of the first things I'd start doing with riders is getting the entire week protocol
Mm,
together. So what do we do this week for race days? What does it look like? And it goes back to even the weekend before Monday. So you know on Monday what rested should feel like. You know on Tuesday what opening up should feel like. You know on Wednesday what more work feels like or less work feels like. So you can literally tell me like I feel like tomorrow I need less work, or
mm.
I feel like tomorrow I need to do more work because I didn't feel opened up today. Um, so I'm all about the protocols. As many T's you can cross and I's you can dot with that, I do. Um, I don't want to guess about. Uh, I don't want to guess about anything. Just like we
Yeah.
know exactly what we're doing. There's no walking in saying how much how much super scratch should I put in here. It's like we know exactly how much super scratch we're going to put in, and there's no conversation about it. Warm up,
And
same
that's
thing. Warm up protocols. They never change unless somebody says, "Hey, I don't feel like that's working for me. I want to try this or I want to do this."
right.
But once we get a protocol that somebody says that works for me, then that's the protocol. We don't deviate.
Yeah. Now you're working those rehearsals in around sea level type priority races.
Pretty much everywhere.
Hmm.
If you're racing this week, we know what your week's going to look like. And I wouldn't say it's a cut and paste from like the last race you did or the previous race, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
There'll
So
always be subtle nuances.
what about for someone that doesn't race that often?
I still think it would be very beneficial to know what you're doing that week, so you're not guessing, or you're not
Yeah.
you're not getting insecure in the race and your race preparation and deciding you need to do more, you need to do less, or even those things. You're just like, okay, this is what I do this week, and I know if I'm going to be good or bad. But you have to do it. You have to experiment it. You have to. I think it's really important to track it and know what you did last time and make notes immediately. Did this work or did this not work?
Yeah.
And yeah, did this work? Did this not work? And here are the changes I want to make next time. So when you go to those notes, it's crystal clear what you want to do.
Okay. So the role of the coach within that rehearsal week, how do you approach athletes around the tactical side of the race, different race scenarios? How would you approach an athlete and work through the strategy for the race?
Mm-hmm.
And when might that happen? What does it look like?
It'll happen. I think I let it happen relatively organically until it's time to talk about it. So if they want to bring it up and like, hey, what are you thinking about this week? Then I'll say what I think about the week.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't hear anything about the week and we get closer to the weekend, then I'll say, hey, what are you thinking about this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And then get into it. But always talk tactics.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about like if it's maybe a 4-lap race or a 5-lap race, you have a goal for the very first lap. It's
Yeah.
not just wait till we're 80% done and then figure it out from there. Walk
Yeah.
me through that.
Yeah. I'll give you a great example. This year, mountain bike world championships for cross country. Had a start on a street, left-hand turn, maybe 300 meters past the start, went uphill and then funneled into a single track. Within the first 3 minutes of this race, the first 15 positions were set at the finish.
Wow.
So literally, and for me, this was just watching junior girls race and then watching the junior boys, watching the U23 women go, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is really consistent on how these flow. And I will always watch start laps, first laps of all the categories, and make note of the first 10 that came through, and then where were they at the finish. So we went to, after the first day of racing, team meeting that night, and I'm like, look, this is super simple. You guys have to do whatever you can to get as far forward as you can by the top of the first climb. That's the end of the race, effectively.
Yeah.
Other than you've got another hour and 15 minutes of being pinned.
Hanging on.
And you can separate out those positions at that point. But if you don't get up there, the race is already gone. It's past you.
Right.
So, yeah, I break it down as far as you can, tactically, primarily because you know how it is when you're racing, you lack some oxygen in your brain, and sometimes you're not thinking clearly, and you just need to react. And you're like, my plan A was this, my plan B was this, my plan C was this. I missed A, so I got to go to B, and I don't have time to think about it. I just need to make the switch and go.
That reminds me of F1. You hear the radio, talking back to the pit, and they're like, still plan A, or plan B,
Mm-hmm.
plan B. And like, nobody knows exactly what that is. But you actually have A, B, C
Yeah, you have to lay,
plans.
yeah, absolutely lay them out. So, and some days, like, look, you're not going to win every day, right? Everybody knows that. Some days you just have to race for the best result you can get. And if that's 10th, that's the best you can do that day. And you have to make that shift quickly and say, okay, well, shit, I wanted to win today, but given the circumstances, whatever situation I found myself in, I'm going to have to race for the best result I can get.
Yeah. So stepping back to Keegan, I mean, for my eyes, he races a lot compared to, what I can imagine myself doing. Right. But, does he have much fluctuation within his fitness? Like, are you actually thinking about peaks and valleys within the season, or is he on like this plateau and his 90% is just better than 98% of the field? What does that structure look like for his season in particular? And does his fitness actually go up and down through the season? Like we think about building and taper and all this stuff and A race, B, C, but it seems like every race is an A race for him.
Yeah. Well, I think the Lifetime Series lets you go up and down pretty easily
Okay.
because you have so much time in between races. It may look like a super high level all the time, but it's not always his top
Hmm.
level. Um, so it definitely goes up and down. Uh, he's good at not showing when he's not awesome and racing accordingly. But he's also really good at showing when he is awesome and racing accordingly.
Are you giving him options within the training week or on days? Like he can override and say, today's not the day. Hey, coach, I didn't do today. I decided to do X, Y, Z. Like how refined is that day to day and options that he has?
Yeah. Anybody I coach has the ability to change a day anytime they want. If
Okay.
it's not happening, they tell me. Just say it's not happening. And that's perfectly fine. That's the sort of nature of the beast. Um, I'll write training. He'll look at training. If he sees something he doesn't like or doesn't love, he'll say something about it. But for the most part, he's really pretty compliant. Like you write it, I do it. Um, if I get tired, I tell you.
Are you having to educate some athletes in terms of like they push when they shouldn't have?
All of them do. That's why they got to where they got. Um, and it's not bad, right? I mean, uh, I think there's this notion like if an athlete overcooks it, that it's a bad thing. It's poor coaching. The truth is, if you're going to win these really big titles, you have to know where the line is. And if you don't go
Yeah.
over the line, you don't know exactly where the line is. I don't purposely ever push anybody over the line, but if you're pushing and you're both hard charging towards a goal, occasionally you just overcook and go too close to the sun.
Yeah.
Keegan this year got just smashed at Cape Epic, and
Yeah.
we both thought going in he was going to be really good, and he turned out to be really bad, terrible. It was just we pushed it too hard too early and overcooked it, and he got to pay the price for it. Like as a coach, you're like, oh man, that 100% sucks. You feel terrible, but um, I think if you're pushing, it's just going to happen. It's going to happen one time or another for somebody.
Yeah. What about the subjective versus objective like data coming through? Are you do you look at HRV, his feelings, his motivation, his stress level? How much does that play a part in terms of decision making?
I think a ton. I look at data all the time. Sort of my workflow at the end of the day is training comes in. I'll open it on my phone or if it's open on my laptop, I'll just take a quick peek at it. Generally
Yeah.
speaking, it should look like what you wrote, right? If you wrote 3x10, it should look like 3x10 and you're going to guess 183 and you see that, great, no problem. If I see something that isn't exactly the way it should look, I'll send a text and say, hey, how'd it go today? Or what'd you think? So for me, how they reply is actually super important for me. Um, you can you can take all the data and all the data will say it was good. It was a good workout. Maybe not A plus, but call it an A or A minus or B plus. Press on, press forward, just keep working. Um, but if they say, I don't know, I just didn't feel strong today, then I'm like, okay, we're going to push through this workout. Are we going to push through this week? Or do we just throw a rest day in there and then proceed with the rest of the week? Or do we need to really intervene and take a day off and take 2 or 3 or 4 rest days,
Yeah.
and then continue? So really how they reply to me or respond to me is as important as what I see for objective data.
Yeah. So, are they putting in comments in TrainingPeaks, or you don't always have to text them every day?
All the above. Some people are great about comments in TrainingPeaks. Some just shoot a text. Um,
Yeah.
it's any and always necessary.
Yeah. Um, I guess stepping back and looking at your career path, how has coaching changed? We started out talking about 25 years ago, how there was little knowledge and very few to learn from. What do you think were some of the biggest evolutionary changes along the way, the 25 years of coaching?
Man, I mean, think about when we were riding power taps and they were prototype power taps, and we were like, "Why is your power so high and mine so low?" It's like, well,
I weigh 30 more pounds, Jim.
you weigh 30 more pounds. Or why are our kilojoules so different on the same ride? We just did the same 3-hour ride, and
Mm,
our kilojoules. But at the time, we didn't know. We were like, I have no idea what's happening. Um, but now it seems like it's common sense, right? You're like, oh, of course, you're bigger than I. Um, Wearables have been a huge thing, right? You can collect just a massive amount of data.
yeah,
I mean, in cycling, short of F1, it probably collects the very most data of almost all sports.
yeah.
You can literally choose what markers you want to look at are meaningful to you, and you're ignoring another 25 that also contribute
Yeah,
to.
so what are important to you? What have you learned over the years that are important or you're investigating that might be important?
Yeah. What do I look at daily? I do look at CTL, ATL, TSP. I do look at HRV. I do look at load. Um, I do listen to what they say. Uh, I'll look at.
How about core body temp, any training interventions around, heat
Yeah,
acclimatization?
heat you always have to intervene on, right? Heat's a big thing. I think that's table stakes now. Everybody's managing heat, but it wasn't the case even.
What do you mean by managing heat?
Um, Doing heat adaptation prior to racing, doing cooling during or pre-racing. Um, Anytime you race in a hot environment, you have to come fully adapted to it. You can't just show up and
Right.
wing it anymore. Um, but I remember 2016, Boonen came to Doha and had done no heat training. We'd spent weeks doing heat training. And then he's like, I didn't do any, but he came 10 days early, rode outside every day in 110 degrees. That's heat adaptation. It's just a nasty one. It's a nasty way to
Yeah.
do it. But by race day, he was fully adapted. Um, but it just goes to show you that like 10 years ago, not everybody was doing this.
Yeah.
It was relatively novel to put a lot of effort into it. But now you think of it like altitude, like you wouldn't consider not doing heat.
Yeah. So
Um,
are you seeing benefits of doing heat adaptation, acclimatization before going to altitude, leaving altitude,
mhm.
helping it maintain benefits? How does that relate with altitude training?
Yep. So really, the only thing I don't do is heat and altitude at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
Stressors.
too much load. Um, and then you throw your training on there, which you're trying to manage also, and it just creates too much fatigue. Um, and they don't really go well. They don't play well together. Um, so if I'm doing altitude, then I don't do heat. If we're doing heat, then I time the altitude afterwards. And once you do heat, and if you do some maintenance phases to it, you can actually maintain all the adaptations for a long time. You don't have to
Oh,
just constantly be in the heat to maintain it. Um, it's pretty easy thing to train and maintain.
yeah. Is it a type of thing where you do active heat training to get the adaptations and then you can switch over to passive to maintain? Or how do those play with each other, active versus
Yeah,
passive?
that is really sort of coach dependent on what they like to do.
Hmm.
I use both. I actually I think I prefer passive,
Huh.
um, just because it's not as
Sauna, like any
yeah sauna
particular,
yeah
yeah,
yeah. Um, but
protocol around a
also,
sauna?
yeah, also use hot tubs. Also use bathtubs. We've used bathtubs before. If that's what you got.
Mm, yeah.
Small heaters in small bathrooms. Uh, Hotel bathrooms with a really good portable heater gets shower on gets really hot.
Yeah.
Um, so you just have to be a little bit creative about it, but it all works. Um, my sauna protocol is 7 days. I start at 12 minutes, add 2 minutes every day, but it's the end of a ride. Um, come in at the end of the ride, last hour you stop drinking, get dehydrated. Go in the sauna each day, you add 2 minutes, come out, then you rehydrate like normal. And then after that, it's a simple maintenance phase of every third day. Go back to the sauna with the same duration that you finished at, which is like around 24 minutes or something. And it
And
just doesn't seem terrible. If you've done the heat training on the bike where you put the suits on, you put
yeah,
all the clothes on, I mean, that is actually particularly miserable.
yeah.
And I do
But
think like the load of that is really hard.
yeah, so when you go into the sauna protocol, are you accounting for that within the training volume itself? I mean, backing off somehow to
Yeah.
allow for this extra stress, and then you can ramp
Yeah.
it back up over time?
Yeah. So during the first week of the heat adaptation, I will try to take away as much training as I can.
Okay.
So a rest week where you're doing recovery rides is great.
Yeah.
You get towards the end of
Right.
that rest week and you're adding volume to the week. It's really easy. It doesn't create a ton of fatigue.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do intervals, hard rides during that it actually gets really hard.
Hmm.
So I try to time it end of a rest week, early first part of a training week.
Yeah. Is there a particular structure for each week where or the athlete is always going to know there's two key workouts, two breakthrough workouts, or is every week just dramatically different? Like, what might we expect from a calendar that, from Jim Miller?
Yeah. I don't do a lot of same weeks. And it still goes back to when we race bikes, right? If I had to do a 5x10 every single week, it would have drove me nuts. Like I needed some variety. So I write a lot of variety and I'll create new training workouts all the time just because I know that somebody's getting bored of
Right.
the 10 reps at 30-30 followed by 10 minutes of rest, right? That stuff gets so monotonous. So,
Yeah.
so I'm always writing new workouts just simply for variety and change it up and keep the stimuli fresh. And it's even like for me, I get tired of posting the same training workouts. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, here we go again.
Yeah. You mentioned HRV. Is that a trend you're looking at? Are you making decisions day to day based on what's coming in?
Um, yeah. So I guess how I really look at HRV is more what's happening in their HRV when they go bad all the time. Is it consistent? Is it consistently a bad drop or a big decline, or is it just tailed off, or do they not get the high HRV numbers anymore? What's going on with that individual when they start to have bad days? Um, some people, it's like they wake up and HRVs through the floor, and you're like, okay, you're going to have a bad day.
Hmm.
Others, it can go through the floor, and they're just perfectly fine on the workout.
Huh. So it's to
Um,
the individual level of like some
mhm,
folks' HRV actually plays into your decision making more than others.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just trying to pay attention when they're going to go bad. That's like my job, right? To push them as far as you can push them and try to know when they're going to go bad so that you don't do it.
Yeah.
Um, and whatever
Are
that
you
is, whatever those markers are that is consistent for that athlete, then they're generally consistent all the time. You just got to pay attention to them.
Yeah. So if you're doing some block training, 3 hard days in a row or something, for a certain number of your athletes, you would expect lower HRV
Mhm.
to follow that block.
Yep.
Any other kind of lifestyle things that you see affect it? I mean, sleeping at altitude versus sea level.
Yep. All of that. Um, home stress. I think one thing that's really hard that you can't really measure is just what's happening to somebody off the bike. What's going on,
Right.
right? Girlfriend breaks up with them, buy a house, sell a house, get
Yep.
divorced. All these things happen, and maybe for the most part, they're a little bit stoic about it. They don't tell you, or it's not a big deal. It's fine. I'm dealing with it. Uh, but then they're not riding well, and you're like, there's no way they're not riding well. Um,
So you might uncover something through
yeah. So,
giving
and
them a
those are
call.
always hard things. That's I think why you have to have conversations all the time.
Yeah. That's also why I think there's a lot more unknowns than knowns.
Mhm.
Right. And I believe that like AI is here to stay. AI is here to help us. It's going to help the coach, but not replace the coach, because there's that human connection and all the unknowns that it'll never know. I mean, is that your
Oh,
sense of
100%,
where we
right?
might be going?
Yeah. No, there's not an AI that's going to talk you into running through a wall,
Yeah, right.
right? It's just not. A good coach can,
Yeah,
but AI is not going to. AI is going to be very much a tool for a coach, and the coaches are going to figure out how to use the tool
yeah,
for their benefit. How does this work for me?
yeah, yeah. Um, what keeps you motivated as a coach?
Yeah, this is a weird one. It's weird in the sense that I always feel like I have something to prove.
Mm,
So
the
you
underdog.
might
You
look at,
talk about being the underdog.
yeah, you might look at me and be like, oh, his resume is huge, his Palmar's huge, how many world titles, how many Olympic medals. But I literally am like, I still have so much. I have to prove something to somebody all the time,
Hmm.
um, and nobody's asking me to. It's just how I guess I'm wired and think about it all the time. But I always feel like I have something to prove. Um, and the other thing is like, uh, I've just, and I know sports psychologists have a field day with this, but I have a general fear of failure. Like I do not like to
Mm,
fail, and I will work relentlessly to not fail because I do not like it.
mm-hmm.
Um, and any number of sports psychologists be like, that's the wrong way to approach things. But I'm like, it's been very, very successful for me. And at the end of the day, like that's what makes me go.
What does that process look like after the failure?
So I'm pretty good at failing. It happens, like whatever. I can let things go like a light switch. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we screwed up. It didn't work. Learn from it. Take from it the learnings. If there's nothing to take from it other than you just failed, then that's also fine. Just tomorrow we move on.
Yeah. So when you say you failed, you're saying through the eyes of your athlete, them not making the podium, you failed.
Yeah.
So
And that's not always the
he,
case, right? I mean, you can have somebody perfectly prepared and they don't accomplish the goal. But to me, that feels like we failed. And it's never they failed or never I failed. It's like we failed at this. We had a goal, we didn't get there.
yeah.
Um, why? And okay, at the end of the day, nobody died. So let's move on.
So yeah. So a large part of your process is moving on, but trying to learn from that and then go on to the next goal.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it. Well,
Yeah.
Keegan was fourth. So you got another goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Lastly, any more thoughts on art versus science? And we kind of like talked all around it, but how much is it art versus science?
I think both, clearly it's both, right? It's clearly both. You can't ignore the science because it's fact. Um, you can't ignore the art because that's emotion, that's personality, that's people, and that you have to have both. So, I mean, you've had coaches that have no personality, no emotion, and you're just like, wow, what a drag. Um, right?
Connection. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have the coach that you don't know why, but you would literally run through a wall for that guy, and you're like,
Right.
or woman, if they convince you that you can do it, you're gonna give it a go.
Yeah. I love watching some of the NFL or college coaches in the locker rooms, those post game,
Yeah,
Deion Sanders, moments. And it's like, holy cow. Yeah, that got me going, and
yeah,
that's definitely art. And
yeah,
you might do
100%.
10% more.
Yeah, exactly. And I love football coach speeches, and they're very football coachy, right? They're yelling and screaming and motivating. Uh, I'm not that personality. I would love to have that personality, but I'm not. Uh,
Mm,
but I think in my own way, I think most people would say that I'm pretty motivating. I can talk you into doing a lot. I can
Well, I
convince
think,
you
yeah,
that you can do things.
I think you're good at analyzing and teeing up to somebody something they didn't know was a possibility, but you have the proof in your back pocket that aligns and shows this is a possibility, but they may not have thought about that. That's the running through a wall, and that you're teeing up to them. And it's like, no, this is a possibility. You gain 2% a year for the next, whatever, 4 or 5 years, you can get to this level,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's that, you have this, athletes have the short-term, view, and you just naturally have to have this longer term view that, a little bit at a time, we can get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be it too. But I certainly know that for most, I think I'm motivating in a different fashion than a football coach, but equally motivating.
Yeah. Awesome, Jim. Thanks for sharing all your words of wisdom, and it's been awesome. And like I said, you're a top 10 user ID on
That's
TrainingPeaks
awesome.
there. So thanks for being along with our ride, and hopefully another 25 more years. So looking forward to it. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thanks, Dirk. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Endurance Unlimited. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on your platform of choice to never miss new episodes. Also, be sure to leave a 5-star rating to let your coach and the algorithm know you're ready to dial in your training. Find more resources to help you take on your next challenge at TrainingPeaks.com, or find us on social media at TrainingPeaks. Got questions? Leave a comment or send an email to podcast@trainingpeaks.com. Good luck in whatever you're training for, and trust the process to reach your potential.